Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne and I'm a Chinese metaphysics master in Hong Kong. Many times when I am requested to do a Feng Shui audit, or even when new beginners start studying Feng Shui with me or with any other masters, I have noticed that there is a massive misconception as to what Feng Shui actually looks at. Yeah, when we do a Feng Shui audit, most people, if not all people who are unfamiliar with Feng Shui, just think that you just go inside the home, you look at the floor plan, you check the colors and the interior design and the flying stars, and that's it. But that's actually only a very, very, very small part of a Feng Shui audit. And never mind, we don't even look at colors and the interior design. But the flying stars or the formulas that we look at inside the home is a tiny part of what a Feng Shui audit really entails. So today I'm going to talk about the 4 factors in classical Feng Shui, meaning the 4 critical things that we need to look at and analyze in order to determine whether or not the Feng Shui of an office or a home is actually positive or negative for you, and what needs to be changed to make it more favorable for you. So the first thing we look at is the environment. Yeah, that's the most critical thing of all, because the Feng Shui potential of your home is not determined by your floor plan or by your flying stars. It's determined by the environment you live in. The qi, the life source, the life energy that is generated outside your home is generated by mountains and water. You don't have that inside your home. Yeah, mountains and water only appear outside your home. And those are the critical factors to determine whether or not you have good Feng Shui in the environment or whether you have bad Feng Shui in the environment. Now, when we analyze an environment and then check how the energy from the environment enters your home, we need to be able to determine whether there's positive qi or negative qi to begin with. If you are dealing with a negative environment, then you don't want this qi to be directed into your home, because then it will destroy any positive formula that you have inside your home. So first and foremost, really the environment is the most important thing. And we often say that 70% of what influences you at your home or at your office actually happens outside in the environment. And that's why 70% of the focus within a Feng Shui audit actually needs to lie on the environment. So we are looking at 5 factors or 5 aspects when it comes to environment itself. First of all, the dragons. Now, dragons and mountains are not the same thing. Dragons are essentially mountain ranges. Yeah, the entirety of a mountain range that some starts kilometers, hundreds of kilometers away, but then ultimately what we may see is just the end point, which is the mountain. So the dragon is the mountain range that can extend hundreds and thousands of kilometers, and the mountain is just the end point or the last elevation that we see in front of our home, in front of our office, or in the vicinity. So we can have many, many mountains, but there are only a few mountain ranges. Right? So we need to analyze both. We need to check where the mountain range comes from, which direction it is coming from in relation to our property. And then the mountain itself also needs to be analyzed with respect to the directionality, the location, and also the elemental affinity. Is it a metal mountain? Is it a water mountain? In a very, very basic analysis. Yeah, there are much, much more complex mountain shapes and mountain types that we look at. But on a very elemental level, we just look at the 5 elements. Yeah, but that's very, very beginners and basics. The more advanced you get into in your environmental analysis, you will soon realize that there are a lot of mixed mountains, of course, and that there are a lot of many different more mountain shapes. So where these ranges, mountain ranges and mountains are located in relation to your property makes a massive difference. And not everything is good. Not just because you have a mountain or a mountain range around your home doesn't necessarily mean that it is coming or located in a direction that is beneficial to you. So this needs to be determined in an environmental analysis. Then, of course, water sources. And there we look at rivers, ponds, lakes, man-made water structures such as large fountains or swimming pools or any of these things. And of course, the natural ones are always more powerful than the man-made ones. We need to look at where the water, how the water flows. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it a really wide river? Is it a noisy river? Yeah, can you actually hear the water? Is there a waterfall? Which direction is the water coming from in relation to your home? How is it flowing away from your home? So all of these aspects make a big difference on how the qi is being directed towards your home and away from it. Then we've got the meridian spot. It's also called the dragon spot. The meridian spot is usually a power spot. It's in very basic terms, it's where the mountains meet the water. And it's the one spot that creates, or that is the most powerful in terms of qi, in terms of life energy. From the meridian spot emanates the entire qi for the environment. So we always need to make sure that we are not building on top of a meridian spot, because that would destroy the meridian spot entirely. Usually meridian spots, they're very small, very powerful, and in the old times, the old sages, they used to know how to determine the meridian spots, and that's where you see all of these mythical places now, like the pyramids were built right next to a meridian spot, the Vatican itself as well, Stonehenge. So all of these spiritual places were built not on top of, but right next to meridian spots, because back then, people knew how to identify these spots and what they were good for. So they're very conducive for any type of spiritual activity. But of course, they are the power spots for any type of feng shui that's present in the environment. Today, there are less and less meridian spots because, unfortunately, not everyone or most people don't know how to identify them, and then we just build buildings right on top of meridian spots. So the old masters or the feng shui masters very often try to protect these meridian spots and make sure that nothing is built right on top. And then, of course, lastly, the orientation. Yeah, not just the orientation of the mountain ranges, the mountains, the water, but also the orientation of your building. Yeah, how is it placed or located within the environment? Is the orientation beneficial, not just for tapping into any sort of qi that may be available in the environment, but is the orientation also in compliance with the current period that we are in? Yeah, with the current time frame that we're in. So this is on a very basic level what we need to analyze in the environment before we even go into the home itself. Now then, the building, this is what most people focus on, but as I said, the building itself needs to first actually receive positive qi from the environment before it's viable for any success in terms of business, relationships, or health, right? So don't enter the building first. Analyze the environment first. That's the most important thing. If the environment is negative, or if there's too much distressing energy in the environment, then no matter what you do inside the building, no matter how you align the bed or the desk or the door, it won't make a difference. So within the property itself, within the building, we are actually only concerned with 5 areas: the door, the kitchen, the bedroom, the study, and the workplace. Now, if you don't study at home, if you don't work at home, then it's really just 3 areas: the door, the kitchen, and the bedroom. We are not concerned with the living room. We do not analyze the dining area, the utility areas, or the bathrooms and toilets. Yeah, I've mentioned this several times whenever I talk about feng shui. Those are concepts that are propagated by so-called new age Feng Shui consultants, and really that has nothing to do with how this is being done in Asia. So the main door is the Qi mouth for the building, and we check whether that door receives adequate qi, whether it receives positive qi from the environment, or whether it should be changed or realigned in order to actually tap into better energies. In the kitchen itself, we are only concerned with the stove. Yeah, nothing else. If you have a dining table in the kitchen, we're not really concerned with that. We're just concerned with the kitchen. With the stove, pardon. The stove is where obviously you cook your meals, and therefore it has to do not just with the health aspect, but also it's related to the wealth aspect. Because if you don't earn any money, you don't have money to buy food that you would then cook on that stove. So we always try to make sure that the stove is in alignment or in a positive spot for the breadwinner of the family. And then lastly, of course, the bedrooms. So if you have several guest bedrooms that you're not using, then you don't necessarily need to analyze them or align them. We are analyzing the bedrooms that are being used on a constant basis or a near constant basis. So the bedrooms obviously have to do with relationships, but again, also with career and to a certain degree with wealth, although not so much. It's more health and relationships, right? Now, if you happen to work from home or if you happen to study from home, then we do take these areas of your home also into account. And then naturally, we need to tap into wealth and career energies with the workspace and energies that pertain to academics in a study area. All other areas of the building are absolutely irrelevant. Now, the next thing we need to look at, the third factor, is the people themselves. So a building that is very positive for me could be not that great for you. We are different people. We have different goals. We have different birth charts and a different destiny. So it depends very much on who lives in a particular property. Just to give you an example, if a property is not really suited for a newlywed couple who wants to start a family. It could still be very suited for someone who is maybe 80 years old because they don't want to have children anymore, right? So this is a very obvious example, but it's really important that you determine with the occupants, with the residents, what their goal is, what the outcome of this feng shui audit should be. And then you need to look at the Bazi chart for these residents and see how the Bazi chart, how their destiny syncs up with the building and with the environment. So if you're just doing a feng shui audit without taking the Bazi chart of a person into account, you're basically just doing this blindly. It's not just about determining favorable and unfavorable directions. You really need to check when is this person going to face certain challenges or opportunities. And then with feng shui, you can mitigate these challenges or amplify the opportunities. And this is especially so when it comes to, let's say, health issues, right? So when you see a health problem or a health challenge coming in a Bazi chart, you can really work with the feng shui of a home to mitigate these challenges or to at least minimize them so that they are not as bad as they otherwise would be. So the Bazi chart is an important component of every audit and needs to be taken into account. And then the last factor is the time factor. Yeah, it's not just about what happens this year. Every goal has a certain time frame. So once you've determined the time factor for, or once you've determined the goals for the residents that live in this particular building, you need to check in what time frame do they want to achieve this goal. Is this something urgent that needs to happen this year? Or is it a more long-term goal, maybe spreading over 2-3 years? Or is it a much longer-term goal, 10-20 years? For all of these scenarios, you then need to use different formulas. Yeah, if you want to achieve quick goal or a quick shift in a person's life, and you are using Bajai 8 mansions, you're probably not going to get there. Bajai is more for long term. Yeah, 8 mansions formula is more for long term. So you really need to know the formulas that you're using. And there's much more than just 8 mansions and flying stars. Yeah, the time factor needs to be taken into account. And the time factor also relates back to the Bazi chart, because sometimes you see something urgent coming up in a person's Bazi chart, and then you need to react very, very quickly with your Feng Shui remedies. So this is a critical factor, and this is why an audit really needs to include all of those 4 factors: the environment, the building, the residence, and time. Yeah, so I hope this helped a bit in clarifying what is actually needed and expected from a Feng Shui audit, other than just walking in and looking at the flying stars inside. This is just one small part of what needs to be done. All other aspects are just as critical, if not more so. So if you'd like to know more about Feng Shui, about myself, then just follow me on any of these platforms. And I would love it if you share or comment on this video, and I will see you in my next update.